Hey everyone, it's Norm here and
Kate.
And we have, well, a big project that we're gonna start on. Kate, there's a really cool shark in front of us.
She is gorgeous.
This is made by Sideshow.
Yes.
And they have a license for Jaws. So they have, I guess, coming out a version of their sculpt of Bruce from Jaws, and like in the past, in which they've done projects and invited people to do their own interpretations, they've reached out to us and want to see if we would do an interpretation of Bruce from Jaws.
We have done some of this before for them, and I had such a great time. I'm really excited to see this one now.
But the shark as the canvas.
Yeah.
There were so many things we didn't know going into this. We had so many ideas when we first started chatting about this, like what size this would be.
Yeah.
What were some of the ideas that immediately jumped to your head?
Well, I think you and I both share a very fondness for cutaways. And so I think the first thing I thought was like, what if we cut it down the middle and then we could do an opening inside? But that was something that we needed to see this in person for, and turns out this baby is solid.
Solid, exactly. It's actually pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And it also has a nice curve to it.
Yes.
So, I again love that cross-section idea, but I didn't want to risk maybe destroying this.
Yeah, that would be so much work to hog out the whole center of this thing too.
They gave us an unpainted, just white prime version, so clearly we can do some paint.
Yes.
Right? And I think in our other projects, we love also playing with scale.
Yeah.
Like, is this shark supposed to be much larger or much smaller than it actually is? Or what can we put on this and around it to have like a big shift in scale?
Yeah.
And then one idea that we both kind of gravitated toward was maybe what if this was a vehicle, like a submarine?
Yes. I really, really love that idea, especially taking something that is an organic shape and turning it into something that is potentially supposed to have been, created by a person or by some sort of creature.
And of course, in the world of submarines and even pop culture submarines, there's so many different aesthetic options. The idea that you and we talked about maybe something like the Nautilus, right?
Yeah, and I think that leaned a little bit towards more Life Aquatic.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's, again, connecting to the cross-section, right?
Yeah.
The Wes Anderson style, right? We both love Life Aquatic, that classic movie poster of it looking right submarine and all the actors looking out the window. Like, how can we have that sensibility in this? I think it might be tough to make it take away all of the organic aspects.
Yes.
So we might want to retain some of that. But where do you think, if we want to turn this shark into a submarine, where can we add submarine elements?
Well, I think, as you referred to, the movie poster is quite iconic. So the very first thing I think of is having possibly some people inside here with a bit of a dome, like a clear glass bubble around the mouth. That seems like a good bet to start with. Like,
that's the cockpit.
Yeah.
That's the bridge. They're there. The controls are there. I love that. I love the idea of a dome. That might be a really fun challenge, or some type of window.
Yes.
Right. So we got to solve that problem. How do we make this?
Yeah, this is definitely not a surface that wants to just accept a half round.
And there's a lot of teeth detail. Like, do we want to remove any of that? Like, do we want to carve into any of this?
Right. Yeah. Is there enough room for us to put figures in there? Or would they be laying on their belly, like looking out?
I do think we want to carve into it at some point to put something like, I love lights, electronics, so maybe headlamps. Headlamps for eyes.
Eyes are kind of an obvious choice there. I really like the idea of, using the gills as possibly some sort of exhaust port or grill. But then it also lends itself really nicely, if this is supposed to be an underwater vehicle, possibly there's things like barnacles that have grown on there, or different sea life plants that have attached themselves to it. So that's a fun place. As somebody who likes to weather things, I love a good indent. That's the natural place for things to settle.
And maybe that's an approach we should take for the whole body as well. Even though this is a very organic shape, we can use things like paint and weathering to communicate that maybe it was sculpted out of some type of metal.
Yeah.
Right. We could absolutely add panel lines.
Yes, panel lines would be an easy thing to do that I think would instantly show the idea across the whole body. This is reminding me, the general shape of it is, yes, like a submarine, yes, like an airplane, almost a tank. Like you can see naturally where some of these panel lines would be, some rivets maybe.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Another good place for weathering.
And that's where we can add a little bit of either dimensionality by putting extra bits on or
Yeah.
removing and hogging out without having to resculpt the whole
Yes.
thing. What about windows?
Windows is a fun one. I mean, portholes, that's going to really sell a submarine look, having circular windows going down the body. That is another place that would be good for adding things like lights. Possibly, I don't know, my instinct is if we have a porthole, can I get a little piece of transparency that is either printed with an image on it or has some colors in there so the light comes through it and you're seeing something through that porthole?
My thinking is, knowing like Adam has the tools to potentially help us get into and carve things out. Like, can we mount this in a way to just bore in?
Oh, like a drill press?
Yes, something like using whatever bits, Forster bits or the machining tools Adam has to make these perfect circles and maybe get a cylinder out of here.
Yeah.
So we have a little space to put lights and transparency or some without having to build out a full interior.
Yes.
Right. So maybe a couple of those.
Yeah.
Like 3 of those.
Build a channel system inside kind of thing. Yeah.
And then, they got fins in the side and the back. What do we think we want to do with those?
Well, I think you pointed it out originally. So obviously this is a part of a shark I'm unfamiliar with, but it certainly lends itself to propellers.
Oh, yeah.
Like that looks like there's a go machine happening back here, you know?
Yeah. That's absolutely put a propeller there. Let's do
Yeah.
that. Okay, propeller there for sure.
Now, there's always the possibility, I don't know if it's going to be possible, but something like notching this tailpiece, completely removing it, hogging it out enough to insert a little bit of a hinge and turning this into a bit of a rudder.
Yeah. Yes.
Again, I don't know what's possible, but it comes to mind.
Maybe that's one of those things as after we start boring into it and we see how delicate it is or how much of its shape can be retained, that would be a great thing to do. In the same vein, maybe removing this top fin and making it more like a hatch.
Ooh,
right?
I do love a hatch.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, that's a lot on our wish list. One thing that might be helpful, because I imagine we'll be doing a little bit of manual sculpting, but we have 3D modeling, we have 3D printers. Some of the stuff maybe we can 3D print. It might be useful for us to have a 3D representation, a digital representation of this.
Yes.
So I would love for you to take this home, maybe start drawing your ideas, and maybe today we'll coat this in gray, and we can use like a 3D scanning app to try to get an approximate scan of this.
That would be so helpful because this is such an organic shape with twists and turns and bows and in like getting a part that is perfectly lined up to one of these. If that's possible,
Yeah.
I would love that.
Okay, awesome. All right, sounds like we have a lot of work, a lot of ideas, but a path forward.
Yes.
All right. Lasers? No lasers? Freaking lasers?
I mean, like, you always want a laser, right?
We'll see where we are when we get there. All right, let's get to coating some primer.
There. That's exactly the size you've drawn.
What size is that?
This is 1.5.
1.5 inch.
Nice round number.
Great.
Okay, so let's see here. Oh, wait. I bet these aren't hollow. I bet these are hollow.
You think they're hollow? That would be amazing if it was.
Alright. Your two circles are slightly different sizes. I'm going with a bigger one.
Great.
All right. That's about right. That's about right. I'm just going to split the difference. Great. Oh, hang on, hang on. Yeah, it's made into a mold. I think it's going to be about 1/2 inch thick.
Oh, it's amazing if it's.
We will see.
That's it.
Bingo.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's actually really great.
So now, if I do this, these you guys have drawn these on a level. I'm going to keep them on the level you've drawn them.
Mhm.
So I'm going to shift this one because I'm not positive I'm along the exact plane of the
No,
fish. All right, and I'm splitting the difference. Yeah, there we go. I love this about these cutters is that they go so smoothly.
Is the angular color cutters?
Yep. These cutters are like $60 each.
Whoa.
But and the interior finish is both 2-dimension and perfect.
No
So it
curve.
says 1.5. It's going to be within like 2 thou of 1.5 inches. Great. Yeah, a lot going on in there.
Kate, it's a couple months and we're no longer in the tested office.
No, we're not. We are in my home shop.
This is so cool. It's actually my first time here. And I'm here because we are when we're recording this, like deadline week.
Yeah, this thing is shipping out like now.
So even though we've had a couple months to work on this project, this is one of those things that life gets in the way. We've been doing a lot of separate projects and mostly talking online and intermittently checking in to work on this a few times.
Yeah.
And mostly at the office. So when we last left you guys out there, you saw we had these huge ambitions, right? We had a theme, we had a lot of ideas, and that's great as a great place to start.
Yeah, we dreamed big.
I think it's like it gives you an idea of like a bit of how we work and how people who do these projects kind of work. You kind of want to have these goals, and at least for me, it's like with every one of these goals, I try to be able to see the path there.
Yeah.
And some parts I can't see the path, and that's some of the fun part of getting there.
And some things just turn into stretch goals.
Yep, exactly. So we're at or near our deadline. But when we last left you, this was just like primered.
Yeah, this was a gray shark.
Yep. You took it home. You took it back here. And what did you do in terms of the research and getting it ready for the next stage?
The first thing I did was I wanted to know exactly what I was aiming for. So I started looking up a bunch of reference material. I, as a teenager, had gone to a museum in Monaco that had Jacques Cousteau's yellow submarine. And so I looked up some photos of that. I looked up some stills from Life Aquatic, got a sense of color palette, of general, like how a submarine is constructed.
Yeah.
Where would panel lines be? What kind of features do we need to look for? And once I had a really good idea of that, I started drawing. I took a pencil, started marking out, potential panel lines, what I thought would look good, what might show up well, how far spaced should rivets be, and just getting a general sense of that. And I think I checked in with you and thought, how would this look?
Totally. We had this whole reference folder of submarines, and the tricky part was like in terms of yellow submarines. There was a famous Beatles yellow submarine.
Yellow submarine.
And we didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right? That one has a very particular arrangement at the top. The thing I really love is you identifying this line.
Yeah.
Right? That really breaks the organic shape of the shark, which we can't get away from, but into something a little more like mechanical.
Yeah, I think all of the hard lines really started to bring it about. Something I did that I think really helped was turning the gills into more like vent holes. So I, 90 degreed each and every side of those, tried to make everything more straight, turning what was organic now into seemingly non-organic shape.
Yep. And then at the same time, while you were doing that, I had our 3D scan.
Yes.
So this is one of those things where like the path was visible, but a path that we had never walked down before, right? So fingers crossed, we signed up for the Polycam Pro subscription. We were able to export a model. And the model is interesting because it had a texture. Like we could see like the actual imagery. But as we then pulled it into like a model editing program, that texture is hiding the fact that the actual physical detail wasn't all there.
Yeah, like I think we thought, oh, look, it knows the mouth geometry, but really it was just showing us the image that was there as a texture, and it didn't get some of that. So we then had to go back and try again.
Did a second scan, but in the end, I was able to combine a model of an existing submarine and then print out, but with the cross section. So it worked as we had hoped in getting us something that would get us like 80% there in terms of marrying with the surface. Same with like having the fin poke out, right? This is actually part of the actual original shark.
When you slid that on top, it like instantly was like, oh, hello. Okay, I understand.
The form started to change, right? Yeah.
Now looks more like a submarine.
Yeah. Same with the mouth. The mouth, it was such a tough part to figure out.
Yeah.
We had experimented. What does that front dome look like? Is it going to be geometric? Right?
Yeah. We thought about having like panes, almost like the Nautilus submarine front.
Yep. But that led us to the fact that the next time we met back in the office and checked in with Adam in the cave, he was like, well, there's this whole resource of model making supplies
Yes.
that neither of us had a chance to play with yet.
Right. He had all of the Nerney bins and Greeblies that came from 3210, which was Kerner, which was ILM. And so we had the best of the best stuff to choose from. So we started looking. I think one of the things that blew our minds the most was finding these domes here.
Yeah.
The minute, like, because you had designed and printed the inserts for these portholes, but the minute we popped on a dome, it really changed the whole dynamic of it.
And to even get those holes for inserts, we gotta give credit to Adam.
Yes.
Right?
Seriously.
So we're like, Adam, how we have this, we know we need portholes. We know we want them, you know, we gave them a rough dimension.
Yeah.
What's the best way to drill into this shark, which we didn't even know if it was hollow?
Yeah,
or
I
not.
was like, is this solid?
Yeah.
And how are we going to make sure that it is a straight drill hole as opposed to like going cattywampus, especially if it's solid? I'm like, I can't be sure that I'm going to go directly down. But of course, that man is a master at the drill press.
Yep. So like in 15 minutes time, he whipped up a jig to cobble together something to mount this on, got it under his mill, used the bits that he loves, and was able to hog out 4 holes for us.
Seriously, in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It was one of those days where it spoke to how fast we could iterate. It reminded us of like the Starfield project, where he was working on something physical, you were finding pieces for hand modeling, I was on a computer digitally modeling.
Yeah.
And literally by the end of that afternoon, we had these things to perfectly plug in.
Yeah, we had all of the main body components done, and it felt kind of crazy that it happened so quickly.
Yeah, the domes, thank goodness we didn't have to like model and print those. These are just existing domes.
Yeah.
They're not perfect hemispheres. So again, Adam helped us kind of sand them down.
Yeah, so that they would fit inside of these portholes,
and
which
they work great.
is nice. I don't want them to be too proud of them anyway.
Yeah.
But we were able to we couldn't find one whole clear hemisphere, but we did find 2 different ones, one clear, one opaque. We married them together and created this neat mouthpiece here, because you had modeled and printed the frame that it was going to sit in.
Yeah, which gives you the illusion that it's some type of like cockpit area or something, right? And then like let's point out some of the parts that come from those ILM shelves, like like the top hatch here, like these small, like the framing around this hatch.
You can see the handle, or what do you call that? Like some sort of a
that turnstile, right? Like that's actually from those parts.
These end details on I don't know, exhaust ports, whatever these are. All of the stripping that
styrene,
I use, the styrene, and there are, I'm not sure if you can see them, but these sort of bolt heads that I added on top.
Yeah, all for scale. Yeah. Right. Also, you did. Oh, what did we do? We the extra panels.
Yeah.
I want to talk about those. So I think we had the idea. You were drawing these panel lines. You were inscribing them in. We knew we were going to paint them, but I had the idea of what if like this had been repaired? How do we create some extra? Again, taking away the organic form of it. And so we were thinking styrene to create these extra panels.
Yeah, I think originally we thought we could just cut out thin styrene and lay it on top, not really thinking about just how organic of a shape this shark was.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be a bit harder to get it to lay flat, to mold it to it. We were going through all these different overcomplicated processes.
Adam had brought out the vacuum former. So you could just heat the vacuum former, heat the styrene, lay it down.
And then he was looking at us and goes, wait, I know exactly what you should do.
And he's recommended Warbler.
Yeah.
Which, again, a process I had not a ton of experience with. But he brought out a big sheet of Warbler.
Yep.
And you drew out the guide for it and created these perfect pieces.
I just used a piece of paper to get my, pattern for it, put that on the Warbler, cut it out with scissors, put it generally where I wanted it, and then used Adam's very nice, super gentle heat gun.
Yeah.
It took no time at all, just formed it right in place, glued it down, done.
Perfectly pressed. And I think it has that kind of bent metal look, which is really nice.
So we did the one here, and then I believe there's one back there. Right?
Yep, yeah. And all those things put together, even before it was painted, it was one of those things like, if we felt excited and happy about it at that point, we knew that once you would put paint on, and once we get to the weathering, that was going to be, we're going to get there.
Yeah, it would totally
goal was-
transform it.
yeah.
Like usual, right? The last 90% of it is just the last 10% that you do.
So the last time we were in the cave before we're back here, you painted. You added this color.
Yes.
Great color you chose. This is Tamiya paint.
Yeah.
How many cans did you go through?
5?
5 cans.
4.5. I technically have half a can left in case anything bad happens. I can patch with it.
Yep. It looked great. Again, more confidence building. And then you brought it in so we could do some weathering on it.
Yes.
So let's talk about how you chose the paint for this.
Yeah. So, you know, we wanted to choose a yellow just to start with that wasn't a perfect match, say, for the yellow submarine. It was important to me that it was a warmer yellow, maybe a little more golden to it than just like a bright, you know, sunshine yellow. I think it came out really well, but we wanted to then add some aging, some depth to it. So we did a black wash. We mixed up an alcohol and an acrylic, and I think we got this really nice grimy, gritty.
The grit, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's you're saying it could have been the age of the acrylic or the mixture between the IPA and the acrylic. But once you put it on, the specks, and it really is a grit, you can feel
it's chunks
right there. That immediately added real age to it.
Yeah. So we had that going. I went through with really mostly just an acrylic black to darken some of these panel lines. I don't think I made the panel lines as deep as I would have liked, so I really wanted to accentuate them. Then you rightly pointed out, you know, we need more, even though we want this to be a quicker paint job, it still needs more than just a black. So we started going through with a brown umber oil.
Yep.
Just sort of rubbing it in different places there. I think that really helped a lot.
Yeah, especially the parts that I felt like were more like a different type of metal.
Yeah.
Maybe it ages, it rusts, or oxidizes slightly differently. I think it helps. Again, some of the forms are, you want to bring them out because you don't want the single color kind of hides them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we kept on going back, like taking a step back, taking photos. It's going to look different to the eye than it does to the camera.
Of course. And then my instinct was to then go with a light color of an aging. That's usually what I'll do a white, do a gray, something like that. But we knew that we were going to see a big change once we started adding some of the glue-on parts here.
Yep.
So we decided, you know, if we are going to do that, we'll do that last after we see what else is here. So we held off on that and got right to the fun accessorizing.
Oh, this is the fun part. We bought a bunch of just like, is it like fish tank decor maybe?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Aquarium decor.
Yep. Yeah, moss, plants. You had sculpted this base here.
Yeah, I carved out of insulation foam, you know, glued up some pieces, stacked them, just got a general berm shape going, coated that. Then we painted it with, you know, I primed it, painted it with a tan base color. I had a bag of sand, and I kept thinking this would be an easy process. I don't know why I thought that. I was hoping maybe I could cover it in like a Mod Podge and then make it stick, but I didn't have any Mod Podge. So I just kept going back and forth with spray adhesive, then a clear coat, then a spray adhesive, then a clear coat, and finally the sand solidified and stuck to it. So just don't touch it too hard.
Yep. And then our last thing today, the reason I'm here, in addition to packaging this up into Sideshow, is that we're going to add more of the colors and more of that moss. And I think you're so right in choosing these nice bright colors. Like there's enough dirt and grime. This is supposed to be whimsical and fun.
Well, and that was one thing that helped looking up the Life Aquatic reference photos is in their underwater footage. They have some little animated sequences, and everything is so bright, and it really offsets it well. And you know me, if there's a chance to add color, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So we're gonna do that today. We have there's a little bit of an Easter egg for scale. Again, we couldn't do a full interior, but inside these portholes, we were able to print some images of us on some clear sheets of plastic. So we're gonna add some lights as well, so make that more readable. Oh yes, the space. Oh, okay. When this stand came, it was just clear.
But it naturally looked like something aquatic. Like it looks like there's what would have been mistakes as far as resin bubbles in the casting process. We were like, well, that works. So you were able to find a translucent blue spray paint.
Yep.
We added that. I went a little heavier on the bottom, so it almost has an ombre effect. And I love it. I think it works.
So good. Like even the way the light is coming down here and it passing through and hitting the sand, it really creates this nice underwater look.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty proud of that one.
It is beautiful. Okay, so we have like just about an hour. This is like last looks, last finishing touches.
Yes.
So let's bring out some more of that moss, some glue, and continue dressing these. And we might not even get a chance to sign off if you gotta get this to UPS. But hopefully we'll end at least with some beauty shots, and you'll see this on Sideshow's website with the rest of their group show.
Yay.
At Endless. All right, clock's running.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it.